Hello everybody, and welcome to my long-awaited 100 subscriber special.
Woo!
Yeah. Sorry about the long wait. I encountered some technical difficulties in getting the last couple of game review requests off the ground, and I still haven't. And I've been feeling a little under the weather lately. But not to worry, because I'm back now, at least for the next 10 minutes or so.
Oh, joy!
To talk about some of my favourite ever PlayStation games. They're in no particular order, so why I'm presenting this in the form of a countdown is a mystery even to me. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a handful of games that span a number of eras from the late 90s through to the early noughties. First stop, Oddworld. Specifically, number 5, Abes Oddysee. Two of my favourite games for the PS1 are Oddworld, Abes Oddysee, and Abes Exodus, both of which are very similar in terms of look and gameplay. Arguably, in terms of gameplay, the sequel improves upon the original in a number of ways, such as incorporating the ability to possess more creatures rather than just sligs, not to mention your own farts for some reason. But for me personally, the first game remains the most impressive, mostly due to the fact that its story maintains some very clear and concise moral undertones that seem to get a bit lost in the convoluted narrative that the second game conveys. Right from the get-go, we're introduced to Abe in what is quite possibly the most creepy way possible.
Hello.
Ah! Yes, hello there!
Abe is an alien slave floor waxer working at Rupture Farms, a meat processing plant, along with his fellow Mudokan pals. The Gluckons who run the place are looking for new ways to increase profits, and what better solution than to turn their only employees into Mudokan meat?
Can't see a flaw in that plan at all, can you?
Anyway, as expected, your task is to find and rescue all 99 Mudokan slaves by using a feature called GameSpeak, which you can practice in the main menu. It includes all the basics, including hello, follow me, wait, and a fart.
Which, of course, is the most essential aspect.
You lead your friends to bird portals, chant near them, and they run to freedom. Once you've escaped the flesh farm, you have to complete a couple of trials. First through the forests of Paramonia, avoiding the creepy paramites, and then across the barren land of Scrabania, where wild scrabs roam. Once these areas are passed, you can transform into the Shriekel, a powerful godlike being who can put an end to Rupture Farms once and for all. That is, once you've managed to make your way back again. While certain aspects of the game are indeed frustrating, including the fact that you can only get one Mudokan to follow you at a time, the game's frustrating aspects merely add to the challenge. What I like about this game is that it's pretty much a puzzle game in disguise. It might look like an ordinary side-scrolling platform, but each screen requires a great deal of thought. Put one foot wrong and you could be sent back so far. It's frustrating, yes, but that's sort of the point. Something the new and tasty remake sadly missed. Number 4, Okami. This is without a doubt my absolute favourite PlayStation 2 game, and easily a contender for my favourite game of all time, at least so far. The game sees you take control of Amaterasu, a wolf god reborn. Together with the help of an obnoxious bouncing sprite, or Ponkel as it's called, named Issen, you have to help rid Nippon of cursed zones, these mysterious black entities shrouding the once thriving lands, utilising the celestial brush. As you progress, you learn a wealth of new brush techniques, which enable you to manipulate nature and the elements, such as wind, rain and sun, and help to establish new and interesting forms of attack. While the gameplay is impressive in its own right as a perfect example of what the PS2 was truly capable of, the story is equally as impressive and masterfully crafted, bar one or two false endings that really do start to make the game lag a little towards the end in my opinion. That said, it all comes together and the ending is wholly satisfying. The soundtrack too is nothing short of sublime. While the gameplay itself is simple, including the combat, the additional use of the brush techniques really emphasizes the game's uniqueness. I was so enamored by the game's unique art style that I also became pretty invested in its accompanying art book, which you can see where the lovely me is standing, or sitting, or whatever. Any fans of the game, I would strongly recommend you get this book. It contains pretty much every character and location, vast amounts of concept art and behind the scenes factoids. Simply put, it complements the game perfectly. All versions of the game are essentially the same, however the PS3 re-release lacks the blurry canvas overlay that was seen in the original PS2 copy, as well as the loading screen minigames that could be completed to earn extra demon fangs, although I believe the latter may have been restored for the PS4 version. Don't take my word for it or anything. Much as I adore this game, I saw no justification in buying it 3 times. In any case, Okami remains one of the most engaging and breathtaking games I've ever played. Number 3, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. This is one of my absolute favourite PS3 games, if not one of the best games I've ever played. Some people liken it to Pokemon in some respects, while others seem to claim it's your standard JRPG fare. Whichever way you look at it, Ni no Kuni is artistically beautiful and supremely imaginative. After young Oliver's mother dies in a tragic accident, the toy she gave him, Mr. Drippy, springs to life, revealing he had been turned into a doll by the evil Shadar. Drippy identifies Oliver as the pure-hearted one.
Oh, pure-hearted one, will you please come and save our world?
And convinces him to go with him to his world by telling him that there may be a chance to save his mother by rescuing her soulmate. Soulmates are basically alternate versions of the characters in the real world. It's kind of hard to explain, but you catch my drift. Along his journey, Oliver meets some interesting characters, including songstress Esther and a mysterious thief named Swain. The main method of combat in this game is to utilize familiars, little monsters that you can capture, feed, armor, and evolve as the game progresses. I've not yet played the newly released sequel, but I have to admit I'm a little skeptical despite the overwhelmingly positive reception, as the familiars have seemingly been abolished, and this for me was sorta kinda the game's most original appeal.
Yeah, shut up.
Anyway, this game is incredibly satisfying and addictive. There is so much to explore and do, and even after the main quest's completion, there's so much to find and accomplish. The only disappointing aspect for me was the overarching plot involving the White Witch herself. The storyline involving Shadar was well paced, and the twist towards the end was well executed, if a tad predictable. But the encompassing White Witch plot felt a little by the numbers, and the overall ending to the main game didn't really resolve much at all in terms of what happened to Oliver.
Mom, I'm gonna get on with my life.
Oh, and if I'm being really nitpicky, I'm a little disappointed at how difficult it is to achieve genuine 100% completion. I never normally play games for the trophies, as I like to play for the experience rather than for sheer competitiveness, as I feel it kind of misses the point. But as a perfectionist, it still kind of unsettles me that you can be stuck for hours on end attempting to attain 100% completion long after having been awarded the Platinum Trophy. Honestly, even I got this far and gave up. But for those of you who are intent on achieving 100% and not giving up, I highly recommend this strategy guide. Not only is it a guide, it features info on every character and even every familiar you encounter. Also included is concept art and a comprehensive list of all items and how you can obtain them. Otherwise, aside from a disappointing ending, this game is wholly satisfying, filled to the brim with Easter eggs galore long after the main quest is concluded. Indeed, the original Ni no Kuni is an undeniable masterpiece, and I really hope the sequel lives up to it. Number 2, Silent Hill 2. Yes, one of the few horror games I've ever played, not because I scare easily, but actually quite the opposite. Blood and gore and jump scares don't really do a lot for me, and that's kind of why this game makes it into my top games, as it's genuinely scary, in sort of an insidiously creepy psychological sort of way. This sequel bears no resemblance story-wise to its predecessor. Well, I mean, the weather still hasn't let up any. There's still a pretty thick fog, and it's similar in terms of gameplay, but in terms of the narrative and characters, it's a totally separate entity. The game follows James Sunderland in search of his wife Mary. Along the way, he encounters all sorts of disturbingly human-like monsters, and with initially little means by which to protect himself, often the best option is to run for dear life. This game has one of the scariest, most foreboding villains in a video game, Pyramid Head, who's often seen doing unspeakable things to unspeakable things. The game's story is intriguing and captivating, but the game itself is not the least bit comfortable to play, and that's kind of a good thing. That's just how a horror game should be. The enemies as you progress get creepier and creepier, like these things, whatever they are, the strangly danglies. And things get all the more disturbing as he journeys deeper into Silent Hill, and we simultaneously journey deeper into James's fractured psyche. Ooh. Though I have to admit, creepy as it is, this screen always raises a laugh from me. The hole's dark and I can't see anything. Will I jump down? Sure, man, go for it. Why not?
Perfectly logical thing to do. What's a few broken limbs anyway?
Number 1, Shadow of the Colossus. What can one say about this game that hasn't already been said? This game is regarded as one of the greatest of all time, so much so that its recent PS4 remake has garnered similar appraisal from critics and audiences alike. What's more impressive in my opinion, though, is that the PS2 was capable of showcasing a game of such magnitude in the first place. Despite a jumpy frame rate and some awkward camera angles, this is an unequivocal masterpiece, but one that certainly is not without some noticeable flaws, which people very rarely point out. The game sees you take control of Wanda, who brings a deceased girl to a shrine along with a sacred sword, with the knowledge that overpowering the 16 colossi in a barren land will resurrect the dead. The game consists of 16 battles with the colossi, all different in their movements and behaviors. You can only vanquish them by stabbing at their unique sigils dotted about their immense bodies. Otherwise, there's little gameplay outside of these battles. You ride on your horse Arrow, whom I nicknamed Pedro, as when he shouts for him, it kind of sounds like he's saying it. Pedro! 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 Anyway, on horseback, you need to follow the light of your sword to find the colossi. The area is huge, but vastly unappealing at the same time. You don't want to explore it necessarily. If there were any other major activities to partake in, the game wouldn't be nearly so effective. Despite this, I would actually prefer that the game is nonetheless overrated. Don't shoot! These journeys across the vast plains to begin with are desolate, lonely, and convey a very impactful atmosphere of despair. But then, once a few colossi are out of your hair, these journeys become quite tired, frustrating, and repetitive, particularly when you need to guide Arrow through a wooded area. The horse makes a U-turn at every sodding tree or rock. Gah! But ultimately, the game is awe-inspiring and builds to a pretty solemn conclusion that packs an emotional wallop. While it may be talked about a little too much these days, Shadow of the Colossus nonetheless deserves recognition as one of the greatest games to emerge from the PS2 era. And there you have it, some of my own personal favourite games of all time, summed up in a 10-minute video. Got any thoughts or feedback? Leave it in the comments below and I'll probably read them if I feel like it. I don't know, depends if I like you.
Hi guys, thanks for watching and thank you for so many subscriptions. Again, I'm really sorry that this is a bit late in the day to be doing this, but better late than never, hey? I would like to point out that I do have some planned reviews on the way for definite. I know I've been saying that for a while, and I can understand if a few of you are a bit disappointed they haven't come out yet. I've been very busy, and as I said earlier, a bit under the weather, so yeah. I did start them. I want to explain something that happened with this game, first of all. It's Chicken Run. It was requested by Dylan Kelly a little while back. The problem was back in January, February time, I started recording it. I had a few hours footage on my laptop, and for some reason it became corrupted, and I wasn't able to use it again. So, I've had to start the game again. The review is pretty much written. It's been written for a while, and the upload was planned for about March time, but it still, as of yet, has not gone up. I'm trying to get back into it, so we'll see. A couple of other reviews have got on the way, fingers crossed. Rugrats, A Search for Reptile, which was requested by I think your name was Callum, but you've since changed your name to I Didn't Fan 101 Wayside and Horseland Fan. Catchy. There is also Atlantis: The Lost Empire, which I'm planning to review very soon as well. That was requested by Pilly. Hi Pilly. That is also one of my personal favourite Disney games too, so I'll have fun with that one. I'll be back very shortly with another video. I will try not to let you down this time.
Anyway, thanks for all the subscriptions, guys. I'm very flattered. I'll hopefully be back soon. In the meantime, if you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll be back. Boom.